everyone, and welcome back to Chaos and Carry-Ons. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Shelby.
This is the podcast where we talk about travel, marriage, motherhood, and all the chaos that happens somewhere between packing the carry-ons and making the memories.
Today's episode is a little different because Stephanie and her family just got back from a spring break trip to Washington, DC, and I'm basically here to interrogate her about the entire thing.
Pretty much. Today we're breaking down the trip day by day, talking about what we did, where we stayed, where we ate, and what we learned along the way.
Honestly, I'm excited about this episode because DC is one of the trips that people always talk about doing with their families.
Yes, and if you're thinking about going, hopefully this episode will give you a realistic idea of what a trip there can look like.
Chaos and carry-ons, let's go. Disney dreams in tow, you know. Every flight and every ride. Join the journey, come inside.
Okay, before we get into the days of your trip, we have to talk about where you stayed because I've been to DC twice, and I know personally that this is hard to decide, especially when you're a first-timer going to Washington, D.C.
Yes, so this was hard for me. I'm going to start out with saying because we're a family of 5, and a lot of the hotels that I were finding said double bed. And as if I didn't need more room, I definitely didn't want a double bed. And so I ended up landing on the Hyatt Place, Washington, D.C., the White House location. And I just felt like that it was the best price for what it was, and it was in the best location.
And location means a ton in DC. I'm just going to throw
Yes.
that out there.
It really does. So it was very centrally located. It was only a few blocks away from the White House, and it was close to the monuments and the museums. So I'll get more into it, but like the Uber rides were not that expensive. It was very close to the metro. We walked to the White House, and it was probably like a 5-minute walk. So it was just in a really, really good location. Hyatt Place hotels are known for having the larger rooms, and the room size was great for our family of 5. It didn't feel like we were on top of each other. So I really liked that.
Okay, so give us the honest review.
So the beds were, I will say that they were comfortable, but the pull-out couch was not comfortable. So if you're looking at this hotel and you want to put big kids on the sofa, that's not going to work. It's only going to be small children that you can put on there. The hotel, it felt very clean. It wasn't super updated, but it was updated enough. And it did have a free breakfast, and that breakfast changed every day. I will say that normally we do not eat the free breakfast. Like, none of my crew is usually a fan, and they did eat it. Like, it wasn't the worst free breakfast. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. So it was good enough to eat. I would definitely stay there again just because of the price and where it was at. Like, I felt safe there. And my kids loved looking out the window, and we were smack downtown. So I don't know. They just really enjoyed it.
I think safety is a big thing, and that's something that I always look at when I personally am planning trips for a new city that I've never been to. I will go on TripAdvisor and I weed through threads upon threads of whatever city we're going to and find the safest, most kid-friendly, but like safe is my keyword, especially somewhere like Washington, D.C., because it can feel unsafe very quick. So
Ye-
I think safety is a big thing there.
We did see some homeless people, but I will say that the staff was really good about, like, if they tried to come into the hotel, they immediately were taking them out. The CVS across the street, it's funny because when I was asking Derek right before we started recording this, I said, I honestly am forgetting like parts of this trip already because so much has been going on. And he's like, don't forget to tell about when the homeless guy called the girls cute and they like enjoyed that. It's like, oh, that's great for the podcast, you know? But anyway,
Oh, Lord.
so there was some, but it wasn't like what I've heard about. You know, you hear it's
Okay.
horrible, and it really was
Mhm.
not that bad.
Okay, so let's start with day one. Walk us through your day.
We had a White House tour at 9:30 in the morning, and I had been trying to get a White House tour for probably 5 years. Well, before that, because before COVID even, and I had not been able to get one, and I finally got one. And so that was the whole reason why we went to DC, was because this White House tour finally came through. So the public tours let you walk through some of the staterooms. It's like the East Room, the Green Room, the Blue Room. The White House is under construction right now. I'm sure everybody's seen the news. What is it? The Ballroom, I think. So we didn't get to see all of what you normally do. It was a shortened tour, but it was great. We were fascinated by it. It was just so neat to be standing in the White House. I don't know. I can't even explain how neat it was. I will say that Mateo, this was the hardest time that he had because you couldn't take any kind of a stroller or anything. So we walked there and then, we were walking all through it. And so I think the whole thing from start to finish was maybe an hour and a half, close to 2 hours. I'm saying including like the walking and the waiting in security and all the things. So by the end of it, like he was done, you know, just like walking and all of that. Like he was pretty done with it. But for us, like, I mean, we had no issues with it. It was great. Like my girls even, they loved it.
I expected this to be much longer than an hour and a half. When you said that, I was like, are you serious? Because we spent twice that long on that battleship in Hawaii at Pearl
Well,
Harbor.
I will say because there wasn't many rooms to go in. And
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been in the White House, but they don't let you get super close to everything. Everything is pretty roped off.
Right.
There's
Okay.
things to read about. So, like I said, mix that in with that we couldn't see all of the rooms. We actually spent more time in the front, like right when you come in, and in front of the White House than we did inside of the other rooms. And then we waited in line to take a picture at the seal. But also, I think at the time that we're recording, they were not taking as many people as they normally do. So there wasn't really a lot of people in there. It was really great. All in all, we really enjoyed it. I don't know. Like I said, different people like would tell me their favorite rooms, and my favorite room really was just standing in that. I don't know if you want to call it the foyer. It's not really like a foyer. It's just like the entrance to the house. But there was like a huge chandelier in there. Like you could see the stairs that went upstairs. Like it was awesome. Like we loved it.
That's awesome. We didn't go in when we did it, but we did walk in front. We were there, well, this summer will be 12 years, so it was a while ago. And I'm fairly certain it was President Obama still at that point. And I don't think they were, at the time that we were there, I want to say they were not letting tours happen at all. I don't know
Mhm.
why. I don't remember what was going on, but that wasn't a thing. So I definitely do want to go back. That's a bucket list for me. I just want to wait until Taylor's older. She's obsessed with George Washington. I don't know what it is about George Washington that she loves so much. So I think that she would think it was cool to go see Washington Monument and all the things. But I don't know. I just want to give it a couple more years, I think.
Well, you can't take anything in there except for your ID and your cell phone. So after we were over with the tour, we walked back to the hotel and we went and got what I call my mom bag. So I had like snacks and, all the things. And then we got Mateo's stroller and then we walked over to the monuments. I will say that if I had to do it all over again, I would do one of those little bus tours that takes you around. We were feeling very overconfident and we thought, well, Mateo's in
Mhm.
the stroller, but I just didn't realize how much walking that it was. I think
Mhm.
that Derek said it was like 28,000 steps or something like that, like the
Mhm.
whole day.
Yeah.
So we were exhausted. They were so neat. Like it was really cool, but I would not do it that way again. But like I said, Mateo had a stroller, and so he had no issues because he was just along for the ride all day.
I remember when we were there, it was summer. We were there for 4th of July and it was
Mhm.
so hot. And I was so naive thinking that, like, oh, it's further north. It's not going to be as hot there. I was miserable. And like you said, I mean, we walked, I want to say 8 to 10 miles that day, maybe more.
Mhm.
And it is so much walking. Every city that we go to, we do the little hop on, hop off bus. I don't know why we did not do that for DC, but I think that's also probably why I haven't been back yet.
Yeah, we should have done the hop on, hop off bus. I saw people doing it, and I had planned to. I don't know what happened. And like I said, I think we just really felt like, oh, we can do this. And then it was like, oh, this is a lot more walking than
It
what
is. It
than
seems like when you look at it on a map, and even there driving down the street, it doesn't look like it's as widespread as it is.
yes.
I don't know
So
why, but it definitely is. So keep
yeah.
that in mind.
I think most everybody said that their favorite memorial was, I believe, the Jefferson Memorial. It kind of seems like. Again, I think this was on a Saturday, so it was a little more crowded. Like, as far as, like, eating, I remember after the White House, I think we went to Panera, if I'm not mistaken, and we just had, like, a soup and sandwich. I think that's what we did. And then what I was gonna say, though, is they have a lot of those food carts, but people were telling us to be careful about using your card there because sometimes they will scam
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
and way overcharge you. So if you're going to do that, I
Mhm.
would highly recommend paying cash.
Mhm.
But there was plenty of places to eat, like, right around there. Near the Lincoln Memorial, there was a little place that served, I don't know if it was, like, hot dogs or something, but you could see people eating out there and drinking coffee and different things. So, again, I would either eat, like, close to the White House, or if you're gonna eat at those food trucks, I would take cash. By the time that we were done with the monuments, it was starting to get a little bit dark, and we did not wanna be out at dark. That was one thing that we kept saying, like, as a collective group. I should say that my in-laws went with us on this trip, so we all agreed that we probably should not be out after dark. I don't know, we were just a little bit nervous. You're gonna laugh. So we went to the Cheesecake Factory for dinner because we passed it, like, walking back on the way, back to the hotel. So that's where we had dinner because it was not that far.
I'm
And then we went
literally shaking my head right now because you throw shade on me so much for my Olive Garden around the world. And here you are, pot, meat, kettle.
I know, and I wanted to go to Carmine's. It was, like, this day, or I think there was another day that we were gonna do it, but it was because, like, we had to have the, reservations and everything,
Mhm.
and the Cheesecake Factory, of course, was not as crowded as that,
Mm.
so, and it was a Saturday, so we ended up just doing that. But anyways, like I said, by the time that we got back to the room and we had walked all of those steps, our feet were so sore. And we quickly realized we should have taken it way slower on the first day because I literally felt like I could not move that when I laid in bed that night from all the
This
walking.
is like every single person when they go to Disney for the first
Yeah.
time. That's especially if they do Epcot or Magic first, and then they're like, "Yeah, we're not doing this for 5 more days."
Yeah.
Okay, so take us into day 2, and it sounds like it was an adventure because you did something that you had never done before.
Yes. So we were going to go to the zoo and decided that we were going to ride the metro. And none of us had ever rode the metro. I don't know. I was so nervous. I don't know if you were nervous. Have you ever taken the metro?
Not there, we didn't. No, I've done the subway in New York. I guess it's the
Okay.
same thing,
I'm sure it's similar.
similar.
I was so nervous about it. I don't know. We even had to ask the security person, "How do you pay for this?" Like, we felt like
Mhm.
we were typical tourists, like, we did not know what we were doing. Again, I will say that Mateo was in his stroller because I knew that we were gonna do a lot of walking, and that was super easy on the subway. Our stroller folds up, and I will say that it's a bob. So it folds up, and Derek just took it down the escalators, and we did the trick that Shelby always talks about where you have the bag and you put all your stuff in the bag, that's gonna go under your stroller. And so I
Mhm.
just carried the bag, he held the stroller, we went down the escalator, and I do wanna say right here, so when we got to the metro and well, no, it was when we got off the metro to where it was called Woolly Park. That's where the zoo is. When we got to the escalator, I literally almost threw up because it is so steep, and if you don't know this about me, I don't like tall escalators like that. It unnerves me. I do not like it. So I had like a small panic attack before that we got on this thing, and I really had to hype myself up. But it was like, there was no way. Like, it was one of those where I felt like I was not mentally prepared. And it's like, you've got to do this because there's no way out of here. Do you know what I mean? You've got to go
Mhm.
up this escalator. By the time that I got to the top, I felt like I had jelly legs. I'm not kidding. It was so bad. But my mother-in-law was like so proud of herself because she had gotten on the subway. Like she was saying that it unnerved her. Now, I don't know if the subway was like this in New York, but this thing was kind of rocking and rolling. Did you feel like that?
It's honestly been so long. I don't know. I
Well,
don't
it was kind
remember that. Like, it wasn't memorable, but it's
yeah.
been a long time since I've done it.
Well, it just I can't explain it. But anyway, so she was proud of herself, but I was like thinking there is no way that I can go up this escalator. But I did because like I said, there's no way but up. So immediately I started saying like, I am not taking that thing back. Like I'm not doing it. And Derek's like, no, you're doing it. Like we're going back on the metro. But anyway, so we get to the zoo, and the awesome thing about this zoo is it's completely free. And it's one of the oldest zoos. It was, I think they said like 160 plus acres. It was awesome. I think you said you've never been to this one, right?
We have not. I regret not doing it, but again, it was 4th of July, it was hot, we were miserable. No, we didn't do it.
Well, so they have the pandas there. So we did get to see the pandas. So we got there, I think it was around 11, and we left at maybe 4. I mean, we stayed pretty much all day. What I loved about it was they had houses. So they had a reptile house, they had the mammal house, they had a bird house. They had different indoor exhibits. So if the weather was not great and it wasn't just like great that day, there was a lot of places that you could go that were inside. And that's what we
That's
mostly did. And
that's
they were not
awesome.
small either. It was huge. Like the mammal house was enormous. It was just, you would just have to see it. If you're going to Washington, D.C., I would highly, highly recommend going to the zoo, even if you don't have kids. That was an awesome zoo. And I say that as somebody who grew up in Chicago. And so I feel like my zoo bar is very high. I actually did better going down the escalator again because I felt like I was prepared.
Mhm.
Anyways, it was like I said, it was really, really good. But the thing to remember is if you're going during a busy time, you do have to go online, even though it's free, and reserve your ticket. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait in line there. And if it was a busy day and you get there, you're probably not going to have a ticket. And I also will say that the reason why that it's better to either take a Uber or take the metro is because the parking is $30, and that's high. That's less than what it would cost you if you just took an Uber there. And the metro was super cheap. So either way, I would not recommend driving and parking there.
So I'm intrigued about this escalator, and I wanna Google it for people that have been to both because this reminds me hearing you talk about that reminds me of Universal in Hollywood. I don't know if you remember me talking about that in our California series last year,
Yeah, I do remember you
but
talking about that.
it was like 3, 4, 5 escalators, and they were the tallest, steepest escalators I've ever done, and that's the only way you could get down to, like, the little Mario Land, Nintendo
Mhm.
World, or whatever they called that, and it's like, I don't know, I can't even explain it, but hearing you talk about that brings that same feeling back to me because I already don't love escalators. They really freak me out, but those steep escalators in my mind, I had so many intrusive thoughts thinking if one single person loses their footing, we're all done for. Like we're gone.
Well, that's what I was thinking. And I'm going to send this to you. And I feel like that this doesn't even do it justice of what it really looked like, but you can
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
get an idea of it.
Yeah. Okay, so this one might be worse because it is like in this tunnel type thing.
Yes.
Like
I'm
at
saying it's
least at Universal you could see above you. Like it was outdoor, but it's very similar. I need to find the Universal one and show you because that gives me panicky feelings all over again. Sorry. We're going to move on to day 3 in a minute, but I just got hung up on the escalator situation.
well, if that's going to bother you, I would recommend then just taking the Uber because I was very unprepared for that. Like I said, going down was better. And I'm just going to be honest, okay? I had to sit on a park bench. I told this to Derek. I was like, you're going to have to just let me sit for a minute. And you're going to have to let me like collect my thoughts and calm down a little bit before we go down into this subway and get on this escalator.
Mm.
And he was like, yeah, that's fine. He's been married to me long enough to know that sometimes your nervous system just needs like a little bit of a break before that you're going to what I call activate your nervous system. So I just had to sit down and like, I was just like, I had to tell myself it's going to be okay. You can do this. And then I was fine. But that's what I'm saying. I wasn't prepared, and I'm a prepared person.
It's fear of the unknown. Okay, so day 3. What happened?
So when one of the things that we were coming back from the zoo by 4:00 is because they were expecting the worst weather in like 10 years or something like that. They were supposed to be getting tornadoes and like really, really bad weather. Okay. Up until this point, it had been in the 60s. It was nice. And it was going to get really cold. And actually at home, it had snowed. We had to come back from the zoo and we just stayed. I think we just like Ubered or maybe went next door and got Jersey Mike's. Kind of seems like that's what we did. Anyway, day 3, we were supposed to get more severe weather, I think was what it was. We went to the Bible Museum. We were going to do the Bible Museum and the natural history, but we couldn't because the natural history ended up closing early. And so we basically had that whole entire museum to ourselves. It was phenomenal. So this museum opened in 2017, and it's fairly new and it feels new. But it had a ton of exhibits. It had a lot of storytelling built into the museum. Right now, they had something that was called the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm going to go over it real quick. It was just basically some scribes that they had found in some caves. I don't even remember where they were, but they were super, super old, and they were like scriptures that they had found that people had wrote, literally ancient. It was unbelievable. Even if you're not like a Bible scholar, it was very neat. One of the exhibits was Bibles, and they had like one of the first. Well, it was the first version of the King James Bible. That was like really neat to see. They just had all kinds of different Bibles there, like the first of their kind, so to speak. So we stayed there until I think they were closing early at 4. We could have spent way longer than that. It felt like towards the end, like we were trying to hurry along, but we could have easily spent all day in there. I would highly recommend it.
So did the kids enjoy that too? Because I would think that would be more geared towards adults, but I don't know. I mean, what about Mateo? Like specifically him. I think the girls could probably, they're flexible, they can do whatever, but what about him?
He kind of got bored when we went through like the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Bible part, but the interactive storytelling part, he was not. There's some exhibits where I don't know how to explain it, but I had never been in something like that. It was almost like shows, but they were not shows. It was like you went from one exhibit and they kind of told part of a story, and then you went on to the next exhibit and they told part of a story, but it was going through the Bible. That was really, really neat, and he did enjoy that. And then you go through like I don't know what you would call it, but you go through almost like where you're in like Jerusalem, and they even had people dressed up and they were almost like actors and like playing a role. And he really enjoyed that. So, like I said, there was plenty of things that he could do. It wasn't just all like for adults. And Sophia was actually the one who wanted to go. She had went in 9th grade with her class there, but she was like, we only got to spend 2 hours. And so they rushed us through everything. And so she was wanting to go back because she wanted to see it again. And it was really neat.
Well, that's awesome. That wasn't there when the last time I was there, so I'm adding that to my list for my imaginary trip back.
Yeah, everybody that we've showed the pictures to has said, I would never think that would be something that I would want to see, but I definitely want to see it. Like I said, Sophia was really the one that was pushing for it. I really wanted to see the natural history because it had like the dinosaurs and the mammoths, and I thought Mateo would like that, but it was really neat. I really did enjoy it.
Okay, so let's talk food in true Shelby fashion.
So I can't remember what night it was. I don't remember if it was after we went to the zoo or after we went to the Bible Museum. But one of those nights, we ended up eating at the famous Old Ebbitt Grill. So this restaurant is actually the oldest restaurant, and it dates back to like 1856 or something like that. But when I was Googling it, it kept saying that you could see politicians or presidents or journalists in there because it's literally right next door to the White House. It was awesome. It was very, I'm going to say historical. Like it just felt historical in there. Like it felt old. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But the food was great. Like the food was awesome. So I would definitely go back. But I will say that if you're looking for a laid back dinner, this is not it because it was packed in there and it was very, very loud.
So what did y'all order? Like, what's there?
I ordered the hamburger. Sophia ordered some kind of pasta dish. I can't remember what Derek ordered. Harper ordered the steak, and I remember my father-in-law got a pork chop, and was saying like that was really, really good. Everything that everybody got, they liked. My mother-in-law did not like what she got, but she got a fried chicken sandwich, and it was really the slaw. Like I can't remember exactly what it was about the slaw. I think she said it was it was a tangy slaw. And I also think it was mustard slaw. I don't know. Have you ever had mustard slaw?
Ugh, yes, but I'm
Yeah.
picky on slaw, and I'm from Alabama, so I like
Yeah.
Southern slaw.
Yeah, and it really wasn't. Like, from what I just looked at it, it didn't look like Southern slaw, and so I think that was what was kind of throwing her because she was like, the chicken itself was good if she woulda asked for no slaw to be on it, but with
Mhm.
mustard, it's like once it's there, it's there. You know what I mean? Like, you can't take that
Yeah,
off.
that's true. Okay, so this is one of the parts of your trip that I actually do remember because I don't remember what was going on in my life this week, but I was busy. You were gone. Everything was falling apart. So what happened on day 4? Enlighten
So,
us.
we were supposed to go to the Library of Congress, and then we were supposed to go to the Capitol, but it was so cold. We could not do it. I kinda think it was in, like, the 40s, but the wind chill was in, like, the 30s, and I should also say that I left all of my winter coats at my mom's house, over Thanksgiving, and she never got them back to me at Christmas time, so we didn't have winter coats, and so that wind it was rough. I think if we would have been dressed for the weather, we could have stood outside. We did go over there and waited in line, but we could quickly see that we were gonna have to wait in line for about an hour, and I was not prepared for that. Like, I mean, I wasn't
Mhm.
dressed for it, and I wasn't mentally prepared for it. So the kids were just like, we cannot do this." And so we ended up bailing, and we had already decided since the weather had turned that we were going to leave Washington, DC, and spoiler alert on the next episode, we ended up driving up to Pennsylvania, and so we had already decided that we were gonna cut our trip a day short because it was too cold. And so, I really wish that we would have just went over to the Holocaust Museum or the Natural History Museum instead of trying to wait outside. But by that point, we were like, let's just head on to Pennsylvania. So we went back to the hotel, we got our car, and we just drove up to Pennsylvania. The kids, at that point, they were ready. They were tired. You know what I mean? They
Mhm.
just were like,
They had seen the things and done the things, and to them, in those ages, they're all the same.
yeah. They were just kind of like, okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so overall, do you say Washington, D.C. is worth the trip?
I think it was worth the trip. And if you're worried about small kids, like I said, just bring a stroller. The only place that you couldn't have a stroller was in the White House store. Even if we would have went to the Library of Congress and the Capitol, they're right next to each other. We could have taken the stroller there. I would say that you could do it for spring break, but just know that spring break is pretty much like anywhere else. You're going to get a mixed bag for weather. You know, it's probably going to be a really nice day, and then you're probably going to have a not nice
Mhm.
day. You know?
Well, my niece's spring break was the same week as your kids, and they went to Orlando, and the high one day at Disney was, like, in the 50s. So, like you said, it doesn't really matter where you go for spring break. I would have been so mad if I thought I was going to Florida for sunshine and the high was 50 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of those things, that you just have to be
Mhm.
prepared. I will also say that when we did the zoo tickets, I did multiple days. I think I did 2 days because I knew that there was a possibility since we're going in March that the weather was not gonna be good. So I was glad that I did it that way. So be flexible, do your monuments and your walking outside on the nicer days. I would even do your Library of Congress on your nicer days because 'cause you're gonna be waiting outside. And then I would do your museums on the yucky days. Like, we did that Bible museum, and it was pouring and storming out, but it was fine because we were inside.
Mhm. So if you've been to Washington, D.C., we want to hear your favorite places. And if you post pictures on Instagram or Facebook, make sure to tag us so we can see. And by we, I mean Steph.
So thanks for hanging out with us on another episode of Chaos and Carry-Ons.
As always, may your flights be on time and your luggage never lost. If it's not, that's where the fun begins.
Pack your dreams, it's time again. The world's our map, so tell a friend. New horizons, stories spin. Season 2, let's dive back in. Theme parks glow, the stars ignite. Wishes dancing, neon light. Sail the seas and chase the breeze. Every laugh and memory. Chaos and carry-ons, let's go. Disney dreams in tow, Every flight and every ride. Join the journey, come inside. Come inside. From Mickey ears to sunset hues.